Here's a quick Revit hack to begin to change the look of your wiring diagrams. Over the course of the video, we're going to accomplish three major things.
We're going to set up a filter. We're going to actually create a new wiring type, and then we're going to see this display as we're specifically going to look at how to make a low volt wiring diagram look like what you want it to look like. And that effectively you're going to be able to change your line style so that you can have different types of wires show up in different ways in any kind of view. Now, specifically for this, we're going to be working with a plan view, but it would work just as easily in an RCP or any other view where you have a wiring diagram that you can begin to create. And one of the easiest ways to be able to do what we're doing is just to simply use a filter. And this can be applied to your visibility template as you're going through Revit, or you can take it in and out of different projects by transferring the project standards. And it takes a quick few minutes just to make a filter anyway, so if you need to remake it again, and this is a process you can use time and time again to kind of isolate certain elements within your project and really dial in your set of production drawings. So with that, we're going to take a look at first creating a type of wire. As you go through Revit and as you begin to populate your model, once you have the devices in and you have them linked up into a circuit or a system, typically you're going to be able to create a model wiring diagram. Now, I did this as I was over top of one of these devices. If I control or if I tab, it'll bring up a blue wiring diagram if you don't already have one created. If you do have one created, then you'll see what I'm currently seeing. And I turned off my thick thin lines toggle just so that I could begin to see these a little bit more bolded. However, once you have the blue wiring diagram selected that's hidden, since Revit can do this just automatically, you can click on whether or not you want it to be arched or chamfered. And you'll see in this case, I decided to have mine as an arched wiring diagram. Well, there are a few ways that we can begin to create new wiring types, but one of the easiest ways is just to click on one of these, and you'll notice that instead of now just being the blue item, it's actually an element here in Revit, and it's been assigned to a wiring type. Well, in order to create a new one, I just go to Edit Type, go to Duplicate, and what we're going to do is just create a low volt Cat5 cable. So if I go to Duplicate, and I type in Cat5 and I click OK, what I'll end up getting is what you see on our screen now. And you'll want to go through, just for the purposes of having accurate information, and change some of these elements to match what they're actually supposed to be. So for example, the type of wire, the material, gauge, and so on and so forth. But for the purpose of this, we're just going to focus on how to make a new one and then begin to filter it appropriately and see this show up in your document. So I'm going to click OK. And now what you'll notice is I still have this item selected, but now it's a Cat5. So what I want to do, and let's say all these were on low volt, and these were, instead of being outlets, they were remote monitoring devices. Well, I can do click on each one individually or control click on multiple, and from the type selector I can select Cat5. Or I could do match property, shortcut MA in Revit. Click on the one that was initially right, so Cat5, and then go ahead and continue to click through until I'm done with all these that I wanted selected. So now I currently have these as Cat5, and unfortunately what ends up happening is I don't have any way of telling just by, unless I tag them, just by looking at the symbol language or the line language itself. Well, this is one thing that's pretty important in terms of CDs when you're typically trying to do things fairly quickly. So how can we change this for every kind of view of this type as long as we have it set up appropriately? We're going to do this by filter. So the quickest way to do that is I type VG and I open, since I don't have a view template on this, it allows me to modify any of these items the way I see fit. If I had a view template on there, then I would need to go over to the Properties panel, and scroll down to where it says View Template under Identity Data. Click on the button, and then I could actually go through. But for the purpose of this one, I don't have one, so that's fine. And I'm going to go to the Filter tab. Here under the Filter tab, you'll see I don't have one set up so far, and I can click on Edit New here, or I could click Add, and then I can click on Edit/New in this dialog. Now this is going to bring up a listing of filters that are already part of the MEP environment. And again, we're talking about really MEP construction documentation or production and working drawings. So I'm going to go here to the New button on the lower left part of this panel, and I'm going to create one that says Wires, and I'm going to say Low Volt, because this is the way I like to do that in terms of organization, and then click OK. So that's fine. And the center column here, first I named it. Center column, I tell what categories I want. And then the final column, I generate the rules. So I'm going to go scroll all the way down, and I'm going to see what I'm looking for when I find it. So I'm going down the wires because I'm changing how the wires look. And I like to click this button called Hide Unselected Objects. Once I have that, I confirm that I'm only doing wires, and now I want to set up the rules. Well, the strongest way to do this is to first start with family types. So I'm going to go here to family name, equals, and then I'm going to do wiring types. So this filter is only going to select things that, or isolate things that are of a wiring type family. And in addition to that, I'm going to do type name, so that I have something else to be concerned with. And from the drop-down list, I'm going to select Cat 5. I click OK, click Apply, and now I can select this from my Add list, Wires Low Volt, click OK, and now I have something that's only going to modify the visibility graphics of the specific Cat 5 wiring type family that we created. So here under Projection and Surface, under Lines, I'm going to click Override because Revit is preloaded with a variety of line types that you can use to begin to have your drafting environment or your production environment look the way you'd like it to look. So under Pattern, I'm going to change this to Hidden 1/8. And again, you can use whatever kind of meets your standard of visual line style. And then I'm going to click OK. And now I see I have wires, low volt, visibility is set to yes, checked on, and it's all going to be this dashed line. And then I'm going to click Apply, click OK. And so what you'll find is as long as the spacing is right, and sometimes you have a little bit of inconsistency, like here, with this one, because of the arc and the spacing, it's just not showing up correctly. But 99% of what you want to do is going to happen. So this is now a Cat 5, and everywhere I have a Cat 5 or a low volt, it's for this drawing. When the filter's applied, it's going to show up. Now, if I went to another drawing, so for example, if I go to an RCP in this same project, so level 1 RCP, I can effectively do the same thing. This is a wiring diagram for the lights, but I can simply change this from here to a Cat 5 if this were, say, a room occupancy sensor. And then I can go into my visibility graphics with VG, go to filters, and then I can go ahead and add that filter again. So wire low volt, click OK. That's on there, and I click OK.
You'll find as you're beginning to apply filters that you also need to adjust some of the visibility graphics settings as you go through. So we're going to go ahead and simply reopen the visibility graphics menu after applying the filter.
Well, you'll notice that here under wires low volt, my lines are not overridden, so I need to go in here and just quickly add this hidden line. And I'm going to use the same hidden 1/8, click OK, click Apply, click OK, and now it's showing up the way I'd like it to do that. Again, you'd have to go through on all the views, but you can imagine that once you have all the wiring diagrams drawn in, and you apply the filter and you apply the line type, it would make your life significantly easier not to go in and have to do some annotation lines or something like that in order to get this to show up well.
This is all we're going to go over in this video, but I sincerely hope that this was quite helpful in allowing you to begin to wrestle with Revit and get your production drawings to look like what you want them to. We welcome questions and comments. Thank you very much.